Yo, 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 gamers, what's up? It is your boys here at Small Town Game. uh, Alright, Keith, start it up.
I'm good. That's a good start. We're gonna use that
Alright, let's get it. So,
forever.
PlayStation Neo, what do you guys think about it? Obviously, you guys both have heard. I think anybody who plays video games or has a PlayStation, or anybody who stays up current in video gaming news is going to know what the PlayStation Neo is, the PlayStation 4K. So let's just dive right into it. What is your guys' opinion on it? Because we're only 3 years into this console's life cycle, and they're already announcing something better.
I'll let Keith go on this one first.
I think 3 years is a pretty normal lifespan for a console nowadays. And it's not like they're giving us a brand new one, they're just giving us one with shinier toys.
Right.
I already have a high-end PC, so I won't need the 4K. Like they've said that the Neo is basically upping the FPS and all that other junk for VR compatibility.
Right.
I guess they're worried that the VR games are going to lag and make people sick on the regular PlayStation. So they're just releasing that to like beef up the hardware to compensate for that.
Right, they said that when they did like the VR testing for the PlayStation VR, that the current system was lagging and the testers were getting sick from it because it couldn't handle the higher frame rates and it couldn't handle the smoother, it could make the game smoother. So apparently this is the whole purpose of it is to match up perfectly with the PlayStation VR. And there's rumors that this is going to be announced at E3 because everything right now technically is just rumors. Sony's not come out and said, "Hey, this is for sure a thing." So it's rumored that at E3 we'll get like the for sure specs and we'll get confirmation that this console actually is coming out.
Well, I do want to touch on something Keith said real quick. He said about 3 years should be not too bad for a new console release. Keith, are you talking about like a brand new console or just like the updated console?
Like the updated console. It seems like every couple of years they're updating one. Like the PlayStation 3 went from like the old fat body to a little bit slimmer, and then they came out with like the really tiny one. Like all within the 5 years that I think before PS4 came out. So it's getting to be kind of a normal thing, sadly, of them updating the console with smaller pieces or better soft like hardware like they're doing with the Neo.
Well, I'm wondering because the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One both released with more features than ever on any console that's been released before, with all the online integration and everything. I think the only console that even came close was the Xbox 360. So I'm just interested in knowing like what else are they going to add aside from their hardware, because we know they're adding supposedly just a faster processor, bigger GPU. I think it was supposed to be.
Here I'll read the specs. I pulled the specs up. So currently the base PlayStation 4 has an 8-core Jaguar clocked at 1.6, and the new one, the Neo, is going to it's the same CPU, it's the same custom-made CPU, but it's now clocked at 2.1 gigahertz, so it's a 1.3 times boost over what we have currently.
Okay, so
and
that's not bad.
Go ahead.
No, that's a little more than I thought it was.
And it says 18 Radeon GCN compute units at 800 megahertz, and it's going to 911, so it's 2.3 times more flops, and the RAM is still going to stay at 8 gigs. It's DDR5, which is integrated into you guys, most people already know it's like a hybrid unit that they've built, and it's right now clocked at 176, and it's going to go to 218. So 24% more bandwidth is what it's saying.
See, what I'm curious is they swore up and down, because I do remember reading this, that if they do come out with the Neo, because it's still not 100% confirmed, they said they were in talks about creating like a slim PS4 type thing, like they did with the PS3, just an updated console. But I'm really curious, because they swore up and down that if they do, they're not going to have games specifically made for the new console. But I mean, that's a that's quite a bit of an upgrade. Plus, they're doing 4K Ultra, so that's going to help with frame rates. It's going to help with graphics. It's going to make everything look better. So I'm really am curious if we don't see towards the end of the life of the console wars for this generation, if we're going to start seeing games being pushed out that the older generation PS4s and Xbox Ones and whatnot won't be able to compensate for based on the newer consoles coming out. I know we didn't see that with Xbox 360 and the PS3s, but I can tell you for 100% certainty going from, because I had a first generation Xbox, I had that thing, the 360, for most of the entire life cycle of the 360 until it finally broke down. I think I had that thing for at least 5 years, and I think the life cycle was about 6 years. So my last year, I went ahead and went out and actually bought the Xbox Slim that came with the Kinect and all that other crap. And it ran so much faster, it ran smoother, apps worked better, going to home screen was faster. So it really did feel like an entirely upgraded console. So what I fear is that if they continue with this kind of trend, we're going to start or stop seeing PS5 and from the PS4, we're just going to start seeing half jumps. And because that's a big upgrade.
Well, I just looked up. So the PlayStation 3 was released in November 11th of 2006 for November 17th, 2006 for the U.S. and the PlayStation 4 launched on November 15th of 2013. So we had a 7-year difference there, and I didn't look exactly when we had the upgrade from the fat PlayStation to the skinnier PlayStation, but yeah, it's like I had the fat PlayStation, and it seemed like the experience was good and everything. But as you got into the slimmer PlayStation, they made more advances in the technology. It was able to run cooler. The games were able to run smoother. They didn't really come out back then. They didn't come out and say, oh, like this is a huge upgrade like they are now. It wasn't like this is a huge upgrade. Your game's gonna. They didn't push all that stuff. They just said here's a new system. It's gonna run cooler. But at the same time, by it running cooler, we're going to have smoother games and everything else. And I think it's kind of interesting because we're getting this PlayStation, and when the PlayStation and the Xbox was originally, announced and finally came out, like one of the biggest questions for people was, why does it not have 4K compatibility? And then obviously this hardware that we have now couldn't push 4K and, have a smooth experience. And people were like, that was one of the biggest things. They were like, no 4K, what the hell? Why is there no 4K? So I think it's interesting, 3 years in, they're finally like, oh, we should have probably had 4K in this the whole time, so let's go ahead and make this PlayStation Neo, or it'll probably end up being called the PlayStation 4K. I mean, that's just what I'm guessing the name would be, but I think it's interesting they're finally like, oh, we need to compete more with, computer, PC gamers, because it seems like you just read in the news or you talk to people and they're like, oh, console gaming is great, but they're like, you just, when you play video games that much, you want something more, and I'm just going to go ahead and build a high-end PC so that I can have the higher games and I can run them at the the max resolutions that they were intended to be ran at anyways.
I agree completely. As a PC gamer, I've actually gotten into PC gaming a lot more lately. I mostly was only playing MMOs on my PC. I had a lower end PC, didn't like to play a lot. I'd play the occasional game like Diablo 3 and stuff like that when it came out. But for the most part, I just dedicated PC gaming to straight MMOs. Well, with the MMO integration of the PS4 and the Xbox One, we're starting to see more games like that start to come on the consoles. I decided to branch out on the PC as well. I got a better PC. It's still not the greatest. I'm planning on upgrading yet again to a better one. But I find myself actually playing my PC a lot more than my console. And I used to be the guy who would defend consoles to the death. The ease of use, the dedicated friend server, so you can make sure your friends are online and play with them, is just so much better on the consoles than it is on PC. But the fact that if you go out, just say you spend $1,000 on a PC, which really is not going to get you the high-end PC, but it's still going to get you almost double what's in the Xbox One and PS4 at this time. So you go out and spend $1,000, you're not going to have to upgrade that like you would if a new console came out. You're still going to be able to play your games. You might just have to spend another $100 or $200 and upgrade your PC just a little bit more, and that PC is still viable instead of going out and dropping $400 or $500 on a whole new console. So I guess I'm just turning into more of a PC gamer, and I think if they continue with this trend of how they're doing the consoles, I mean, I love the PS4. I have a lot of fun with it. I enjoy the exclusives, but after really looking at my PS4, having it for this long now, I can really look at it in hindsight. Just everything that's in the PS4 is just so low quality. Even the Bluetooth, I think the Bluetooth only 2.4 Bluetooth instead of like the 4.0, which has been out for a while. So anything you have that's Bluetooth compatible, it can't be a newer Bluetooth. So I couldn't even hook a keyboard or mouse up to the PS4. You know, the audio quality is not the greatest. The obviously doesn't have 4K resolution. I mean, there's just a lot of stuff that these things are hindered by, and the fact that you can look at a PC that's, like I said, you spend about the same amount of money on a PC that you would put into a PS4, and it's still going to run games better with the higher frame rate on the computer than it would be on the console.
Right. Well, the thing is that, so like with a high-end PC, so you have a PC and you have, you know, a manufacturer who makes, you know, a new Bluetooth unit or a new motherboard or something like that, and then you get that and you put it into your PC and it's like new and fresh, but you know, not everybody has to make that upgrade. Not everybody has to, you know, if somebody doesn't want that, you know, Bluetooth, they don't have to get it. The thing with the console is that the development cycle is so long and the technology moves so fast right now, is that by the time they design this console, by the time they decide what they're going to put in it, by the time they find a manufacturer and they start manufacturing it, all the technology that's in it is already outdated. And that was one of the biggest problems when they first came out. People were saying they're already outdated, and they really are. And that's the problem, is that technology is moving so fast that I think even when the PlayStation 4K comes out, it's still, I mean, just within a few years, it's going to be already outdated. I mean, sure, they're saying it's going to have some of the best. This article that I was reading says that the graphics are supposed to be comparable to a 980 Ti or a 980. I seriously doubt that, because that is like NVIDIA's highest, you know, high-end. It's not their highest end, but it's like one of their high-end graphics cards, and I seriously doubt they're going to be able to put that in there, because even that graphics card, if you go out and buy it, it's $900, and to be putting it in a $400 system, which we don't know that it will be $400, it could be $400 or $500, it could be more.
But they're not going to sell it at $900.
Right, they're not going to sell it at $900. But also Sony's, you know, taking the approach that we're going to lose out, you know, on the hardware sales. I mean, we're going to take a loss on hardware sales, and even the Xbox, the same thing, but we're going to make it up in software sales and everything else. But it's interesting, because the development cycle is so long that really by the time that these things come out, they're going to be outdated. I'm personally not going to update or upgrade to a PlayStation 4K, a PlayStation Neo. One, I don't have a 4K monitor. I don't plan on buying one anytime soon. I don't have a 4K TV. Don't plan on buying one anytime soon. I say that now, but I could end up doing it later on. But if I did, it would be because I have a gaming PC and I want to be able to push, you know, the max resolution that thing has. Because the articles that I've read or I've watched, you know, IGN, YouTube, anything like that, they're saying that it's going to be able to take a game that's basically at 1080 and it's going to upscale it. So you're not getting the true 4K experience that you would on something like a PC. So if I was really going to spend the money and go all out 4K, I would make sure that I had a PC that was able to push the 4K gaming and have the smoothest experience, not a console. I love console, I really do. I love being, like you said, you know, the integration with the friends, the ease of use, just getting on and being able to connect with your friends like that. That's all great, and sometimes it's nice just to have a controller in your hand. I know you can have an Xbox controller on PC and all that, but I mean, it's more convenient. But honestly, I have not bought the PlayStation thinking, oh, I want the best gaming experience that I can get, you know, resolution and frame rate wise, because it's just not there. It's not going to happen. If you really are, you know, that desirable for, I mean, you're really desiring it that bad, you're going to go with the high-end PC anyways.
All right. I'm going to give Sony the secret to sell out of their PlayStation Neo. You ready?
Don't make it.
Yeah, just don't do it.
Backwards compatibility.
They won't do it, though. See,
they won't do
it. If they did it, I know they won't do it, but if they did it, it would sell out immediately.
Okay,
because
if they
have
did it, I
never-
would buy one then. If they did backwards
exactly. If
I
they
agree.
did that, everybody would buy one because they haven't had that since the very first PlayStation 3, and they were like, "Oh wait, let's not do that instead," and then took it away from us.
Well, the reason they did is because they created that PlayStation Now, and they've got a huge amount of people that are playing it. I mean, don't get me wrong. For a subscription service, you get a shitload of games.
It's pretty
on
cool.
that.
I mean, I got to do the alpha and the beta of the PlayStation Now, but still, it was just like you would rent the game, and then it would be like, what if you were in the middle of playing the game, and then you're like, oh, an update comes out, another game, you want to play that, and you come back, well, you got to re-rent it, and I'm like, ugh,
Well,
I don't want to do that.
now they have a subscription service where you just pay monthly. Like I think it's like almost $20 a month. I mean, we were looking at it not too long ago, just looking because there's a lot of PS3 games I missed out on. I was an Xbox fanboy all last generation. I refused to get a PS3. I didn't like it. Didn't like how it was set up. So I missed a lot of the games, and the games that have not released for definitive editions, like Last of Us and stuff like that, we got to play those, but there's still a lot that I missed. So I was like, well, let's just look at this subscription service. I'll cancel a few different of my subscriptions for a while and just play it. And I found out it's almost $20, so I decided not to do it. But
Yeah, see, go ahead, sorry.
no, I was just going to say, they won't do a backwards compatibility because they're making too much money off that. Xbox has the luxury of doing that because they're the lower selling console. They're going to try to get as many people
trying to
to
do
play it as
something,
possible. Yep.
Yeah. Well, see, it's different because in the beta, the PlayStation Now beta and the alpha, the model was you rent a specific game and you go with that game for you
Right.
can rent a time period. So they
You can
changed
still do
it.
that. It's just they released the subscription not too long ago to alleviate that. But I think it's too steep for me a month to be able to play old games that I might only just want to try. I think if I did decide to do the PS Now subscription, I would literally only do it for like 2 or 3 months. But I don't justify spending $60 on for 3 months to actually play all these older games that I should be able to just go out and buy the hard copy and be able to put it in my PS4 because that's how consoles should be.
Right. Honestly, though, some of the best-selling games on the PlayStation last generation have already come to, they've already been remastered. Like,
Right.
even the PlayStation exclusives, God of War, The Last of Us, even Borderlands has taken that approach. In the Handsome Collection, they've redone, 2 of those. So
Dishonored.
I
There's
don't
a
know.
lot of good games that
Yeah,
came
there's
to
a lot.
PS4. So I don't know the backwards compatibility. I wish they would add that for the 4K, and just like you said, Keith, that would and Channing, I would probably go out and buy it. And the only way I was even talking earlier about this. The only way I will buy a 4K PS4 is if my current PS4 dies and they're not so outrageously expensive when I need to buy a new console. Because if they're outrageous, I'm just going to go out and buy another used PS4 and use it.
Right.
But I mean, if it's reasonable, I might upgrade. But that's the only way is when this one dies.
Well, the rumors are saying that there's not going to be any difference in, the interface. Well, there could be a slight difference in the interface, but they're saying there's not going to be any difference. Like, you could play the game on either system and the experience is still going to be the same, except for on the Neo, it's going to be upscaled. It's going to be maybe smoother. But they're saying that, you're not going to lose anything out. You're not going to lose out on anything, specific game, game exclusives or content exclusives from one system to the other. All that's just going to be the same. They're basically saying you're going to be able to stick a disc in the Neo and choose the Neo setting, and then you're going to have the the higher frame rates, and you're going to have a smoother game experience. So I don't know if they were to do that backwards compatibility, Keith. I think that would be a fantastic idea. I think that would be something that would sell more units. But honestly, I don't see it happening because, like you said, Eric, they have the whole PlayStation Now, and like they really want to push that. So I don't know.
Well, Sony's on top right now. They're the best-selling console of this generation, and they know it. And they've been able to swing their console penis around because they have the best-selling right now of the generation. So that's why we're seeing Xbox and Wii. Well, not really Wii, because Wii doesn't have to try. I don't even consider it part of the console wars anymore. Nintendo has taken a step back.
I don't either.
But
yeah, they have.
But with Xbox, you see Xbox trying. Microsoft is really hard on trying to get people to come to their console. You know, I made a video about this. They're doing better on their games with gold than Sony is. I mean, PS Plus right now is just, it's horrid. We're getting terrible games on average, all indies, while Xbox is pushing out AAA titles. They're also got the backwards compatibility coming through. I mean, like every month they're adding new games to their backwards compatibility. I mean, that's huge for Xbox, and that is drawing some people, but PlayStation knows they're not going to win. So they don't have to. They don't have to try to make backwards compatibility. They can put out a shitty subscription service and not have to worry about it.
Which is kind of sad, really, because if you think about it, if they were like, oh, we want to do better by... It all comes down to business and everything else, but if I was like... I'd be like, you know, because I'm a gamer myself, obviously, I would be like, if I worked there, you know, let's try to give them the best experience possible. And honestly, you would sell more consoles, even more than they do now, if they had a better subscription service, if they started doing backwards compatibility. Because there's a lot of people who are like, I want to play that, and, you know, I want to play this game, but I don't want to play it on my, you know, Xbox 360, or a lot of people don't even have those systems anymore, because when they upgraded, they're like, let's go ahead and sell them or trade them in. So they want to play those old games. So what do? They're like, oh, let's just go ahead and get an Xbox One, and Sony's going to lose out on that. So really, I think that it would be, and it comes down to everything, you know, we've talked about this for years, like they just need to do more for the end consumer, and they need to do more for gamers to make the gaming experience better. And, you know, I think there's a lot of people who've been pushed away, and even, like I said, went to PC because they're just not stepping up their game, and they're not making a better experience. It's like they find this experience that works, that makes money, and they're like, oh, let's go with that model, and we're not going to do any better. Let's not give them more than we really should, which is sad because we want more. Yeah.
If there's no competition, they're not going to be forced to pull out steps to actually make their stuff better. They're going to put out what they want, what they're seeing, because they know people are going to buy it. They know people have already bought their system. So now all they've got to do is sit back on their cushy mounds of cash, because Xbox is not going to catch up to them. There's really probably not much Xbox
PlayStation
can
is
do.
Yeah, they're wiping the floor with Xbox in sales.
I mean, consecutively, I think Xbox has only even closely topped them a couple months, but I mean that's just barely. And PlayStation is still has been the best-selling console, the most constant user base. And honestly, aside from a few Xbox exclusives, PlayStation itself has better exclusives and have had better selling exclusives than the Xbox. I think the only thing that's even come close is Halo. So, and Halo is a very established IP, so it makes sense of why it would even come close to hitting PlayStation. But PlayStation's brought out new IPs that are selling just ridiculously. So, I don't know.
Right, because the Xbox has had that exclusive, you know, Halo title since the original Xbox. I wish Halo would come to the PlayStation. I would never stop playing it, because when it was on 360, I never stopped playing it. It was one of my, you know, funnest games, you know, all the Halos. But yeah, I agree with you on that.
No competition, no drive to make it better. But
Keith,
who knows?
That's pretty much it, I think.
Yeah, I mean that pretty much settles that. I mean, it's pretty much you're gonna have a choice: either upgrade to the 4K or whatever the new Xbox is coming out, or stick with PC gaming, because either that or you're gonna stay stagnant. I think I'm eventually gonna switch to PC gaming. I think that's eventually what it's gonna be. I'm getting tired of the consoles. I'm getting tired of the lackluster content that we're getting, you know, pushed out. My big thing is you're forced to pay the subscription, and they try to sweeten the deal, and it just doesn't give you much. The losing console gives you the better, but if you do the losing console, you have a lower player base, and you have a, you know, less good exclusives. And I don't know, PC, it's just like, well, you want to play that game that came out 10 years ago, pop it in the PC or go download it. Can't do that on consoles.
And you have Steam, which just is far superior to anything that honestly the consoles currently have. Yeah. Steam is far superior.
Well, at least Steam has started to get their really good integrated friends list and everything, but it's just hard trying to convince your friends to do that. You know, if your friends are console whores, they're going to stay on console. They're not going to PC. And I think that's the hardest thing, is that's one of the reasons that still sticks me, and I'm sure a lot of people, to consoles, is because you have a dedicated group of friends that constantly play them. And they like the luxury and the ease of use to pop in whatever game they want. They know it's going to play as soon as they pop it in. As long as that disc is in good condition, you pop it in and you're good to go, and you're in front of your TV in your living room with the control in your hand.
In a matter of seconds.
Right. So,
Yeah.
but I think for me, as being a more hardcore gamer and wanting to play more and get more out of my games, I think it's going to eventually come to the point where next generation of consoles, if I do buy it, it's not going to be like going out and buying it as quickly as possible. Like I had the PS4 within a month or two of it releasing. I just don't think I'm.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm.
No, I agree. I think I'm gonna do the same. Maybe I don't know, because I had the PlayStation 4 on launch, and the thing is, like, I was super excited for it. I was super pumped. Like, I got it day one, and then this PlayStation 4K is announced. I'm like, I don't have this desire to go out and play it. I think the experience for console, the way it is good enough for me, and I think it's good enough for most people. Because if I really wanted that higher, like I said, if I really wanted that higher, stability, those higher frame rates, I would just build a high-end PC and grab a 4K monitor and have the best experience there, because that's where you're going to get the experience. So it's going to be interesting to see whether this fails or not. If it fails, Sony might drop the model altogether and just make one solid system. So right now they're saying, the rumors are that you're going to have the ability to either buy, the plain PlayStation, or you're going to be able to buy the poor man's PlayStation, or the PlayStation Neo, the 4K. But if it fails, I think Sony will probably just be like, oh, let's just lower the price point of the Neo, let's stick with the Neo, and let's just drop the other PlayStation altogether.
Honestly, if they're going to do this like mid-cycle stuff, they should just stick with an actual basis of what time they should release consoles. They seem to be sticking to a 6 or 7 year console cycle. I think 7 was their longest they've had.
Yeah.
Just drop it down a little bit. The rate of technology is increasing so rapidly. Just do like a 4 or 5 year break, cheapen the consoles up just a little bit, and I mean, you're going to take a loss on it, but you're going to make it back so much more on the subscriptions monthly. You're going to make it more on your exclusives you're making. So just help out the gamers. They're really alienating people who want to play consoles but don't want to spend the money.
Right, they're making hand over fist. Think about every game, every at least AAA title in most games. Like, you buy the game for $60 or more, and then every single one of those games has downloadable content, has microtransactions, and Sony and Microsoft are taking a chunk of that every single time. So they're making hand over fist basically off nothing. That's free money to them just to put it on their marketplace.
That's why they can afford to give you the free games with the subscriptions you're forced to pay.
Right, and they can afford to take a loss on the console because the technology in it is more advanced than it costs more than what they're selling it for. But they easily make it up, in software sales and in transactions on the marketplace. So I don't know.
Well, Keith, do you have anything else to add?
No.
So what we can have concluded is that the PlayStation Neo is probably going to suck. If you really want that 4K experience, you should go out and build a high-end PC.
Yep, stick with PC.
But then also the thing, this is one more interesting thing before we close this out, is that I just thought of this, is that so if you have somebody who's on a budget and they really do want something close to that 4K experience, honestly, maybe this is what Sony's trying to get at. This is going to be their market, is these people, if you can buy a console. If I can go out and buy a 4K monitor and I can go buy a PlayStation Neo and it can give me almost a 4K experience for less than $1,000, then I'm not going to be able to you wouldn't be able to reach that same level of quality maybe in a PC, because honestly, to push 4K, what most of those graphics cards are $500 or $600 by themselves. Plus, you have to get a CPU, you have to have RAM, you have to have a motherboard. So maybe that's where Sony's trying to get at, is that they're like, oh, the cost will be significantly less, and that's the user base that we're going for.
Well, right now, last thing I'll add to is right now 4K gaming or any 4K anything seems to be more of a commodity than it is necessity. It's not the norm yet. It's not the norm yet. We will have it be the norm. It's probably going to be within the next 5 years or so. The technology is going to cheapen a hell of a lot. It'll be more affordable. So for PS4 or Sony to launch a PS4.5 or Neo or whatever 4K. It's more like they're trying to catch the niche before it actually happens. So I'm curious to see why they're doing this and how it's going to work, because if I want 4K, I'm patient enough to wait until I can afford it. I'm not going to go out and max out a few credit cards just to get a computer and a TV or a monitor to be able to play it on, because right now it's just outrageous. I just don't see the point in it.
Yeah, I don't see the point in it either. I don't. Can either one of your PCs push 4? Well, I don't think either one of you have a 4K monitor, do you?
No.
No, I don't have a 4K monitor at all, but
I don't
mine
even
might
want
be
one.
able to, bare minimum, but
I mean,
I'm not
I'd
too
rather have a
interested in
TV.
it.
Yeah, I'd rather have a TV than a monitor right now on this point.
Yeah.
But
I don't know. It'd be interesting. Well, it'll either fail or succeed. I mean, it's only two options, basically. So
we'll see how it goes, and we'll be here to commentate on it. We'll be here to dog Sony or applaud them. I mean, I hope it works. I really do. I hope it does, but I just don't see it happening.
It'd be interesting, 5 years down the road where we see ourselves gaming, if we'll be, all on PC or if we'll still be on a console. I don't know. It'd be interesting. We will find out.
Yep. Well,
all right, Guardians. Not Guardians, gamers.
Gamers. We're not doing Destiny. There's no Destiny on this one. We promise. No more Destiny content.
No
for this
Destiny.
Week. Shame.
Right.
Well, yeah,
right,
that's
guys.
it for this week. We'll be back next week. Come check us out.
Yep. Thanks for watching.